Hello, welcome to Big Valley Living, and tonight we're going to introduce very quickly the fact that we just took a 5-day trip.
Down Pastrami Lane.
There you go. And we ended up finishing the pastrami cooking process at approximately 11 to 11:30 last night. What we're going to do is show you the process, and at the end of this video we're going to go ahead and talk about what worked well, what we would do differently the next time, and some amazing and very awesome things that happened that surprised us, and we'll definitely use those tips the next time we make pastrami. Stay tuned.
So there we go.
Birthday, we'll say happy birthday, JJ. And we are going to make pastrami. And we have this recipe that we've tried before from AmazingRibs.com. So we're just going to follow the instructions. And we made it once and it turned out beautifully. We made it another time, it turned out okay. So this is the third shot, and hopefully the third time will be the charm. So what we have are two corned beef that we got at Costco, and one is about just over 4.5 pounds, one's right at 4.5 pounds. And the first thing that the instructions call for is to take them out of the packaging. We're not going to use the brine that comes with it, but we do need to soak it in water for at least 8 hours, if not more. For reference, it is a Tuesday evening. So what we're going to do is take these two chunks of meat that are approximately 9 pounds in total, and we're going to soak them in plain water in this 8-quart food safe container, and it has a little lid, so it's going to sit in the refrigerator. Now it's supposed to soak for a minimum of 8 hours. So what we're going to do is take the meat out of the packaging and rinse it off just a tiny bit. Then we're going to put water to cover these into the vessel. We're going to put the lid on it and put it in the refrigerator, and we're actually going to let it sit in there for about 24 hours. And then tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to take it out and we're going to put the rub on. And the rub is going to be on there until Saturday. So the rub's going to be on there for well over the 48 hours that it calls for as a minimum for it to sit and marinate. When we take it out of the refrigerator on Saturday, this is just a quick overview. When we take it out of the refrigerator Saturday with the rub on it, then we're going to go through the process of smoking it in the smoker outdoors. We have a propane smoker that we've had for several years, and I think we're going to settle on a mixture of cherry wood and possible a little apple wood. We really like the flavor that we get from fruit woods for this particular recipe. We're going to go ahead and get it put into this container and get it ready for the refrigerator, and we'll show you what it looks like as soon as we're done. We have put both of the briskets into the food safe vessel here, and we took filtered cold water, and we put the two fat caps together and covered it with, we want to cover it with at least a 1/2 inch of water. So it is currently 5:45 in the evening. So at 5:45 tomorrow, when we get up in the morning and we start getting ready for work, we are going to drain off the water that's in there, and then we're going to go ahead and put fresh water in there so that we can draw out as much of the salt as we can from this meat. If you skip this important step, you're going to have such salty food that it's just going to take away from the deliciousness that it's going to become. So I'm going to put the lid on the top of it and put it into the refrigerator. And we probably aren't going to show you the switch out of the water in the morning because it's not really important. You know how to do that. And we will see you tomorrow afternoon when we get ready to put the rub on this future pastrami.
See you tomorrow, everybody.
Bye-bye. Last night, we took 2 corned beef briskets that we picked up at Costco, and we rinsed them off, and then we placed them into a food-safe container that we put into the refrigerator overnight. 12 hours after we put those into some cold filtered water and refrigerated them, we emptied out the water, and then before work this morning, we went ahead and we put fresh water in there. And it has now been 24 hours that the briskets have been soaking in water to draw out all of the salt so that when we make the pastrami, it will not be too salty. So what we are making is authentic, close to Katz's pastrami rub tonight. And we're going to go ahead and put the rub on the 2 briskets. And we'll show you how we put that all together in a few minutes. After we're finished, we're going to put those uncovered into the refrigerator for over 48 hours. We'll probably end up being close to about 62 hours before we put them into the smoker on Saturday. So I'm going to go through the ingredients, and then I'm going to put the powdered ingredients into the bowl, and I'm going to take the seeds that we have, which are whole black peppercorns, some coriander seeds, and some mustard seeds, and we're just going to give them a few quick taps in the grinder, and then we'll add those to it because we just want to break them up a little bit. So off we go with the list of ingredients. Please note that because of the fact that we have 2 pretty large briskets, which has a lot of square inch space, we have tripled this spice recipe. So I'm telling you exactly what we're using, and on our channel page, we will list the single spice recipe for you, and then you can adjust as necessary if you choose to take this challenge and make your own pastrami. Okay, so we have 6 tablespoons of whole black peppercorns. Into the grinder, those are going to go. 6 tablespoons of freshly ground black pepper. I don't even know if that spice bowl is going to be big enough. 3 tablespoons of whole coriander seeds. Into the spice grinder they go. 3 tablespoons of coriander powder or ground coriander from the spice aisle. 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. We like light brown sugar, and we slightly packed that. That will help it adhere. 3 tablespoons of paprika. You could use smoked paprika if you wish, or if you don't have any of that on hand, you could use some ancho chili powder or some regular chili powder. We're going to stick with the recipe as it's written. 6 teaspoons of onion powder, and we use onion powder, not the granulated onion. But if you choose to use the other, that's fine. Again, this is going to help it adhere to the meat. And 6 teaspoons of garlic powder, same as the onion powder. We like to have it powdery, not just granulated. 1.5 teaspoons of ground mustard. And 1.5 teaspoons of mustard seeds. Into the grinder they go. I'm not going to put your ears through that, so we're going to go ahead and give those a pulse, add them to it, and we'll be right back. We found this, it's a coffee grinder. We found it at Target for like $12 or something on sale, and this is dedicated to spices in our house. So I just kind of, pulsed them up a little bit to break them up and release the flavors. You do want to have some of it whole because that is part of the experience of this pastrami. And this is the first time that we are really taking our time to make this recipe for you.
So this has been sitting in the fridge. We're kind of tag teaming this one here. So this is what it looks like at the end. So the first day, I put it where the fat cap was up on this one and down on this one. This is all that this one has. So when I initially put this in this vessel here, the bottom, there are two in here. The bottom one, I made it so that the fat cap was up, and then on the top one, I made it so the fat cap was down and covered it with water. We put it in the fridge for about 12 hours. We got up this morning, and just before work, we took this out. I emptied it and took the bottom one and flipped it so that the fat cap was down, and took this top one and flipped it so that the fat cap was up. Put the water on and make sure that it's covered by water, and let it go. And now we're at this stage. We're about 24 hours into this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to dump this water out, and we're going to pull these out and get ready to put the rub on, and then we'll come back and see you then.
We've taken a standard cookie sheet and put some of the spice mixture on it, and we have rinsed and just lightly patted the first brisket dry. So we're going to show you how we put the brine on now. I have put this one brisket onto the rub that we put on here, and they recommend that you leave some fat on there. This came pretty clean from Costco. This is actually the leanest of the two pieces, and I'll show you the other one in a minute. So I've laid that there just so that it's already kind of soaking in a little bit of the rub. And now I am going to go ahead and sprinkle some over the top. And we need to press it in because it's going to be in the refrigerator here for a couple of days. And now you might get an idea as to why I made so much rub. I'll tell you what, you want to have it covered really well, and press it in. But as you can see, some of it's falling off. That's okay. We're going to be, if you've never done a dry rub on meat, this is pretty much standard. Okay. And we do this a lot actually when we do our tri-tips in the summertime when we grill them. You'll see that here in not too long, I hope, because JJ does a really nice job on his tri-tip on the grill. So then you see I'm just picking it up, and I'm just kind of pressing it into the ground, the bottom, and you can see where it laid on there, how nicely that came together on the brisket. There's just going to be maybe a couple of spots, and I'll come back to all of that after I get the other one done. So again, I'm going to press all of the rub onto the brisket. I'm going to press a few peppercorns in there. It really smells good, everybody. And then we have this old Tupperware marinator that we've had for quite some time, years and years. And I am going to lay this in the Tupperware. Again, we're not going to cover it. You want it to have plenty of air circulating around it. So number one is done, and I'll be right back with brisket number two. And here is the second brisket that we have rinsed and patted mostly dry. Now this was the fattiest of the two pieces of meat that we got at Costco. This fat has actually rendered out a lot in the water. I mean, this is probably a third of how much was in there when we started. So now what I'm going to do, now you see why we tripled the recipe for the rub. I'm still going to reserve just a little bit for the edges because this is a much larger brisket as far as the area goes. And once again, we are going to pat the rub, the dry rub, into the brisket, kind of massage it. And now I'm going to get a little bit sloppy And once I feel like I've pressed it in a little bit as firm as I want to, now I'm going to flip it over. And once again, you see all these nice peppercorns, and they're all going to start sticking to it even better over the next couple of days in the refrigerator. And again, this is going to be in the refrigerator for 2 days. It is currently Wednesday night, and we will not be smoking this until Saturday after we get up and get a few things done around the house. So this is pretty much it, everybody. I'm going to finish doing this, put it into the bottom half of the marinator that I have, and I will be right back. So I just want to stress that you really want to make sure that this dry rub is pressed in here, okay? The meat is going to absorb a little bit of it, but it is absolutely, it just smells so good, you guys. There's so much flavor in this. So I'm satisfied that all of the edges are well rubbed, and so is the top and bottom. I'm going to check this one more time and turn it over. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now see, I'm seeing just a little bit of a bare spot here, so I'm going to press some more rub in there. And what we're going to do, put this right here, and these are going to go into a refrigerator for a couple of days. Hey, why not sprinkle that on top, right? Next time you see us, we will be getting ready to smoke our pastrami. And that is the 2 briskets that we have. We went ahead and just put the rest of the rub over the top just so that it can soak in a little bit. I can see it's a little wet. So any wet spots of meat that you see that the rub has already soaked into by the time that you put them into containers to set into the refrigerator, please make sure that you just kind of make sure that's covered. And that's it. We'll see you on Saturday morning.
So we have the smoke holler wood smoker. I don't think they even make this anymore. I think that Masterbuilt bought them, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But it has, actually it's a 4 tray, but I only need 2 today. So I just have two of the grill grates in there. And then since it's a gas smoker, that bottom where the tinfoil is there, I've got that loaded up with cherry wood chips that I soaked overnight. And then since it's a gas smoker, it has a water vessel in there so that it steams, because gas will tend to make stuff really dry. And all right, so it is time to get this going on. So I took this and I put my probe into this one. Set it on there. And the second one here, put it on this right here. And here we'll be back in, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours, I'm thinking. We're going to get this up to an internal temperature of 150, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so these were up to 150 degrees internal temperature, and this is going to be our makeshift, let's see here, this guy over here, our makeshift steamer, maybe. So I took these up to 150 this time. The last time that we made pastrami, there are 2 ways you can do this. You can take it up to 150 and then steam it the rest of the way to 203 degrees. Or you can leave it in the smoker and go up to 203 degrees. But the last time we tried it that way, and it was really hard. It was really tough. So the first time we did it where we took it to 150 and steamed it. It turned out awesome. So that's what we're doing this time. What we're going to do is, they're ready to go in now. We just kind of made a makeshift steamer here, and we'll tint this with aluminum foil, and put it in a 250 degree oven for another 3 or 4 hours. Okay, so it's 10 o'clock p.m. So I started this right at 10 o'clock this morning. So we were able to get it to 194, and it would not move from there. We even turned it up. So it's been steaming for 6 or 7 hours, 6 hours, and I'm calling it good. So the steps that we went through, I went out, did the smoker until it got to 150 degrees. I brought it in from the smoker. We put it on this little contraption that we came up with and tinted it with aluminum foil, and we put it into a 250 degree oven, and it's been in there for a long time. So I don't know that I can cook it longer, as I would like to eat. So,
and the bark looks good. We didn't lose any of the spices. That is one of the worries that you can have if you rush the process. But the bark looks good. I'm going to reach in. You'll see that nothing falls off, and that is one of the things that could happen if you rush the process.
And I thought maybe my thermometer was off or whatever, and I shoved it into both of them, and it went in like butter. So I'm going to call it good right there.
And we double checked with an instant read thermometer on top of this. Alrighty, here's the reveal. Hopefully it shows well. JJ might have a comment. Oh,
so we let it.
My.
Oh yeah, that looks really good.
Gosh, look at this. Go ahead, JJ. Talk about what we went through to get here.
Yeah, so we that looks really good. So we let it set after it came out of the oven for about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes here, and now you're seeing it at the end game. So it actually did turn out nicely. I was kind of worried, but it looks pretty good. Yeah, there we go.
Look at the color. It's got a great bark. When we steamed it the first time, gosh, it's probably been about 8 years ago. The bark was like this. It was perfect, but it takes a long time. You have to be patient. Don't invite your brother and sister-in-law and your nieces over for dinner, because it probably won't be done when you think it will be. This is an actual labor of love. So after all those days of rinsing and letting him sit with a dry rub, and then smoking all day, and then bringing into steam, you don't want to steam it too quickly, because all of this beautiful bark could have actually fallen off into the pan. So the second time we did, the first time it turned out beautifully like this. The second time we did it, we said, oh, we don't want to wait. We want it to be predictable. We want to just keep it in the smoker to 203. And when we did that, it was tough, and you'll agree with me, JJ.
It was hard. It was like
was
a
so
rock.
bad. We actually had like one sandwich and said, you know what? Not worth even having. So this time we said, okay, let's go back to the first way. And we did actually wait until it stalled at 188.
194.
194. Actually. And then, so we went ahead and said, okay, that's good, because it stalled for well over an hour. It looks really good, and we are going to give it a try. But I say if it stalls for an hour, go ahead, trust yourself. As long as the temperature internally exceeds 180, 188,
over 190.
Over 190, okay. Then go ahead and take it out, let it rest, and go for it. This color I think is probably the best that I have ever seen. And there's no weird fishy color.
So we'll take a pull test because I want to make sure that it's. What are you doing, hon? So here. So right here, this is just one that's cut, and it pulls right apart, just like that. That's what you want. That's a great pastrami.
And I'm actually taking a bite of it right now because I messed up in my shot. But this is the most tender pastrami I've ever had in my life. And you guys, if you have time to do it, you have got to do this recipe.
Something that you just, do at
The
at a
last
whim.
minute.
We started on Tuesday, we finished up at midnight on Saturday doing this. So, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. It just takes a whole lot of time. Does that make sense? It doesn't take a whole lot of your time to do it, but there's a whole lot of steps and time to get to the end product.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's really good.
And then you soaked, this is important to note too, you soaked the chips the night before.
I did.
For about 12 hours, I'd say.
Yeah, and I usually don't do that, but I did this time, and I think it turned out really well.
And you used cherry wood this time?
Cherry wood.
Okay. So we hope that if you do have a smoker, oh, it's all over the place, or you're interested in making food like this, that you'll give it a shot. It takes a few minutes, a couple times from the beginning until the point where you put it into the smoker. You'll want to invest in something like a probe that you can keep in the meat when it's in the smoker so that you don't open the door and let cool air in, because that'll just change the temperature. Same with the oven. We just left the probe in one of these pieces of meat, and when it went into the oven, it was in there. So the whole time we knew what the temperature, the internal temperature of the meat was. And we've had that probe for about 10 or 15 years, I think. It's pretty old, and it shows its age, but you know what? It does the job. I think it costs, $15 or something. So it has definitely lasted and been a good investment. So thank you guys for joining Big Valley Living and coming along on this fun excursion of making pastrami.
So if any of you have made pastrami, maybe, share in the comments below your experiences, what you do, anything that's different. I always like to know something different. So if you do that, like this video, if you got something from it, and that's all I got right now.
Share it and subscribe too, please. You can find us on Instagram at Big Valley Living, and you can find us at Facebook at Big Valley Living. And I just started a Pinterest page. Not much on there yet, but if you're into Pinterest, go ahead and check us out and follow us there, or Instagram. We'd appreciate it. And thanks again. It's really been nice doing this, and we're glad you came along for the trip.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.
But
Butter.
yes, yes, yes. We do okay? It's probably like 5 minutes right there.